Folorunsho Alakija. I don't know if she's still the Africa's richest woman. She's quite rich, but there's something very unusual of a billionaire that is going on with her. First, she's a born again Christian. She even owns a church. She was ordained a pastor, and she owns a church. She's very dedicated to the service of God, and she's a very humble wife. This her wealth, but she made her husband to be the chairman. I think the husband is the chairman of one of the oil companies or whatever. And secondly, she's so submissive to the man. That woman has an exact a kind of she lives an unusual life of a billionaire, an unusual life a billionaire lives, especially a woman. She still arrogates, she's still humble, she's still submissive to her husband, and very humble, a very humble woman. But there is a situation with her. She has gone totally blind. I felt so sad, but I read a report why she actually went totally blind because I don't know if that is the same report you read, or if I don't know what you read about it, or your own the information you have about how she eventually got blind. That she always was had a near experience of air accident in her private jet, and as a result of that, she had high blood pressure. No, of course, high blood pressure, not surprising to me. High blood pressure can cause so many things. So they said that is what affected her sight, but it didn't happen immediately. It degenerated to this blindness, eventually degenerated, but that was the trigger to this issue of blindness. But she was supposed to go through medical stuff and through surgery or medical process, but she refused to go through medical process. She decided to have faith in God and depend on spiritual avenue to actually get her healing. And eventually, unfortunately, the thing made her completely blind. Barrister, is that the same report you read?
Yes, and also when some things like that come in torrents, you gave a very good picture of her as a housewife. But I remember, I think last year, or was it the year before last? Last year, there were rumors all over town that she and the husband were on the verge of divorce.
Oh, really?
They had serious issues as at last year, and they were almost at the point of divorce. Now, this issue of blindness, like you pointed out, she had an accident, so to speak, and developed high blood pressure. Now, instead of treating...
No, it wasn't. The accident didn't occur.
It nearly. So
Okay.
we can still say an accident. Near accident that caused you problem is an accident.
Okay.
The near air mishap that she had resulted in very high blood pressure for her. Now, instead of treating it, she decided to form a church and put faith in God, and over time, the problem continued to degenerate until now we hear that she's completely blind. I have seen 2 instances before, similar ones. One of my townsmen, who was a former commissioner in my state, had an accident on the road. It took 5 to 7 years before the problem began to manifest, and he became completely blind. Wow. He came to Kaduna, went to National Eye Center. The professor, who was the chief medical director, took special responsibility for him over a course of a year, but they could not restore his sight. The other one was a friend of mine and a classmate that got sick. He had HIV and decided that he will not take any drug. He will put his faith in God. And eventually he died. So I think people should understand this God, that he created the drugs for us.
Yeah.
He created the hospitals and the doctors for us. I don't think it is good to try to tempt God when you are sick and you can take drugs or receive treatment that will heal you and then refuse to do it and just sit. It's the same thing as sitting in your house and saying, food, God will bring food for you.
Yeah.
Is that thing people, Christians will understand this our God. You have something to do. You cannot sit in your house and say, I have faith that I will eat, and then you eat. You must do something. At the very worst, or at the very least, you must go and cook.
Yeah.
But the food must first come to your house. The days that manna fell from heaven and you just pack it are
Are
gone.
over.
If you don't go out and treat yourself and rely on God, will say, look, I have given you everything. Just go and treat yourself. So people should understand these things. Look at such a woman of faith, such a
Honestly.
woman of wealth.
Honestly.
How do you come to this kind of situation where you now become totally
Honestly,
blind?
I didn't know that her faith is this radical because yeah, faith is good. Like I keep telling people something. I say, look, everyone has different destiny. I have my younger sister, you know her. She had a situation some years ago, about 1992, so many years ago. She was to be operated on with appendicitis. A thing has she was giving her serious problem. Honestly, she refused. She too, she's a faith person, a very, very strong faith. Honestly, she refused. We did everything to convince her to go through that surgery. She refused. She didn't even go. She refused to go to. The only thing she did was that they were able to diagnose that it was appendicitis. But since then, she didn't go back to the hospital. She just kept praying to God. And this was 92. She's still alive today. That appendicitis disappeared. So now I keep telling people everybody has different destiny. And everybody has God deals with people individually, so it doesn't have blanket. Sometimes his grace is grace appears and it happens, it works together with your faith. But I keep telling people something, just like you said, this whole thing does not have, it's not supposed to be a blanket stuff. There are people who are gifted to actually receive such healing in such ways. But there are people who are designed or destined that they have to pass through the conventional process. Without God is the one who made all these things. He gave all the wisdom, all the whatever, all the gifts for this, all these drugs, this medication, all the science to be invented. So these are things that are made. God actually made it for the betterment of human beings. So I don't know why someone would just keep having. I remember when my sister did that, it was hell against everybody. We tried to or whatever, but she refused to talk to her. But the thing worked for her, and she still held it today. The thing disappeared eventually. In fact, there was a time recently we've talked about. I said, so Margaret. So this whole thing, true. That's how this appendicitis disappeared. Honestly, I'm surprised. Everybody was surprised, but that is just it. So it works for some people, and but some people it doesn't work. And I'm surprised that someone like Alakija, as exposed as she is, actually made this kind of mistake. Especially when she could afford the best. She's the
The
rich
very
one, the
best, the
Africa's
very
richest
best.
lady. For God's sake.
Even bionic eyes can be fixed
Honestly,
for
but if I can be
anything she
I'm telling
wants.
you, she has all it takes. Somebody that has a private jet, even the private jet that they said she even replaced it immediately after that
She
flight.
replaced
She
the
replaced
after
it.
that near mishap, she
Yes.
replaced the jet.
And the private jet she has is the Bombardier. The Bombardier type is even the type that is even more executive. More executive, where you have is the type that you can design to have a kind of a room, a bed, and whatever inside it, not like the regular flight. So this woman is what she is Africa's richest woman. This woman is rich. I don't know why she made this mistake. Honestly, I so feel for her because I've followed her case for a very long time. She's a very humble woman, a woman who is so rich but humble. People who have dealt with her personally have come out with a story of how humble she is, and she's godly, for God's sake. She's so spiritual. Honestly, I feel so sad. Probably this is her own cross. She made a mistake, and obviously she definitely will be regretting it right now. And I don't know, maybe with her money, anything can happen because these days science is just so fast improving that we don't even know. They will come with one artificial eyes and say, okay, that they can give her as artificial eyes. Anything can happen because scientists these days are just going crazy in invention. All right. I just pray. I hope.
Just like you said,
It is possible. Probably God wants to do something in her life, something magical, something miraculous. That's the right word, miracle. It is possible sometimes God allows you to actually face the hottest part of you pray, 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 and the thing gets worse, and eventually God intervenes, just like what happened during what's his name? Lazarus time. Lazarus was sick. Jesus didn't go to heal him of sickness, and he was still busy doing other stuff out there. And God eventually allowed Lazarus to die. It was after he died. If Jesus, one would have just asked, why didn't he intervene when he was still sick? At least during that sickness, it would have been easier for him to heal him or whatever. But no, God allowed him to just die. And eventually, the same after death, he was resurrected. So the matter, Lazarus' case, he got to the worst level, and God eventually intervened. Who knows? I won't be surprised because God works in really, really mysterious ways and in unconventional ways, works different from the way human beings thinks. A sort of, and it even happened in the case of the Israelites too. I don't want
but
to go into the
they
history. So
also say
it is
that you should
possible
not
something will
tempt.
still happen. God may still perform miracle in her life to
They
give her
also
sight.
say you should not tempt God. And
Yeah,
we have a saying in our language that if you have um, charm for good farm, you still do not go to a rocky area and start farming that you have charm. So even if you farm on the rocky ground, you will get you will get good harvest. You still
yeah.
look for very fertile soil to to farm on to
Yeah,
farm
yeah,
on.
I think I agree with you. Do not tempt God. Actually, when tragedy happens based on you tempting God. Anyway, I don't know if I have an example of God still intervening in such situation. But you are right. God says do not tempt. You shouldn't tempt God. The Bible says we shouldn't tempt God. That was actually what she did. I don't know if I will call it tempting God or probably um trying to apply faith in God. I don't know if I can call that tempting of God. Anyway, God is the only one who can judge the situation. And my prayer is for God to have mercy upon her because the woman, she's a nice woman. She's the nicest
You
billionaire
will
I've
not
ever
hear
heard of.
any scandal or any
No, she doesn't have.
untoward
I said
things happening to
she's a
her.
very humble wife. She's the owner of the wealth, yet humble to her husband. I've read stories about her over the years, and she doesn't even make noise. She's not a celebrity. She doesn't live life for the life of celebrity. She doesn't flaunt her wealth. A sort of so. Honestly, I just plead for God's mercy to be on her. God should to show her mercy because the woman she's just too good. She's nice. Honestly, I pray God have mercy upon her, even if she tempted him. God should have mercy upon her, intervene in her situation, and give her back her sight. That is just it, and I believe she has learned her lesson.